Okay, good afternoon. The shir is Leila Nishmat, Osher Shmon Chaim ben Ephraim V'Tziona, Leila Nishmas Tri Dov ben Chaim Pesach, Leila Nishmas Avram ben Mordechai David, Leila Nishmas Ruvain ben Shmuel, Leila Nishmas Chana Golda bas Yisrael, Leila Nishmas Chaim ben Fega, and Leila Nishmas Yeshua ben Shmuel, Mordechai Netzach ben Rivka, Leila Nishmat Baruch Yosef ben Chayke, Leila Nishmatam, Leila Nishmas Elimelech ben Levi Yitzchak, Leila Nishmat Anna Bas Bov Berish, Leila Nishmatam. The Shema should have an Aliyah, Ali Yidna Yeshua, moving on up, right? I want to share a story that I heard from my dear friend and disciple, Rabbi Yaakov Goldman. I'd like to thank Rabbi Yaakov Goldman and Chava Goldman, my dear friends, for putting this shiurim on the internet. Thanks to them, we have an immortal Olam Haba. Together for eternity. I want to thank Rabbi Yaakov Goldman and Chava Goldman for putting me on the internet and spreading Torah. We are the world. I didn't say anything yet.
I know, but you said a lot before.
Yes.
When you to La'ela Nishmat.
I'm just warming up.
When you to La'ela Nishmat.
Right.
These people are gone.
So what? Moving on up.
What?
Moving on up.
Shouldn't you be doing it as the child of the father, not the mother anymore?
Doesn't matter. By Sfardim, it doesn't matter. Sfardim go either way. It doesn't matter. God knows who we mean. Right? God knows who we mean. So I'd like to share a story of my dear friend Rabbi Yaakov Goldman, our webmaster, told me there were two cannibals were eating dinner.
Oh my goodness.
And one says to the other one, you know, I really hate my mother-in-law. So the other cannibal says, so just eat the spaghetti. That's Rav Yaakov Golden, my dear webmaster. He just made it up. Okay. Why? Today's topic is, hello, Rose. Hi, good to see you. Today's topic is, why did God make himself homeless? For close to 2,000 years, God has been homeless. Why? And what can we do about it? And more important. So if you look at the Psalm Ayin Tes Pasuk Aleph, the sheet in front of you, I hope everyone has a sheet. Mizmar LaAsaf. Bakasha, anybody else need one?
Do you need one, Shirley?
Perik Ayin Tes Pasuk Aleph, Mizmar LaAsaf. A song to Asaf. Asaf was a descendant of Korach. Mizmar LaAsaf. By the way, Asaf was a descendant of Korach. The Pasha that we read yesterday, it says, the B'nai Korach lo metu. Korach's sons did not die. This is on a side. And Asaf happens to be a great-grandson of Korach. Why does the Torah keep me in suspense, Chava? A few weeks back, we read that Korach was destroyed. And then it looks like everybody went down to the pit. Why does the Torah keep me in suspense and not tell me that Korach's sons survived only until yesterday's reading? From 5-6 weeks ago, it seemed, Reb Aaron, that they all went down to the pit. Why keep me in suspense and only tell me yesterday's Parsha, Tirtza B'nai Korach lo metu? That's a good question. To answer this question, we'll pose another. A Jew answers a question with a question. Why not? Who else did tshuva? On ben Pelet. He also did tshuva. Thanks to his wife. He also, but you don't hear from him at all. Reb Meir, he disappears from history. Unlike the B'nai Korach, who go on to write the most beautiful psalms in Tehillim, On, who also did tshuva, he disappears. We don't hear from him. Why? What happened? The Talmud Sanhedrin says, why was he called On? From the word Onan. Onan means he was in perpetual avelut. Onan means he couldn't stop mourning for his part in the mutiny of Korach. It destroyed him. He couldn't move beyond that. His life was ruined. On, from the word Onan, couldn't stop mourning. He couldn't stop feeling sorry for himself. He disappears. So the Torah says, how will the Bnei Korach react? Will they follow On and continually mourn over their sin? Or will they move on? It's not so obvious. Let's give them time. So the Torah waits. U'bnei Korach lo meitu. Now we see, unlike On ben Pelet, Ruvain, On ben Pelet, the son of Ruvain, they made a big boo-boo. He made a big boo-boo. Bnei Korach moved on. Moving on. And they wrote the most beautiful Psalms in Tehillim. So therefore, we don't know. The Torah doesn't tell me right away, Reb Ruvain, what happens to them. Maybe they'll wind up like On. Their lives are destroyed. But no. After a while, the Torah observed the Bnei Korach lo meitu. They didn't die spiritually either. They were able to move on and progress and write the most beautiful Psalms in Tehillim. Both of them did tshuva. But On's life was over. Bnei Korach lo meitu. And actually, this idea is found in Pashas Vayera. Yiddish Chava? When Lot is taken out of the city of Sodom by the Malach. The Malach says to him, Himolet al nafshecha al tabit achrecha. If you want to save your life, don't look back. Now, we don't need to know what the Malach said to Lot 3,700 years ago. Doesn't concern me. The Torah is not stories. The Torah is God's GPS for today. What does GPS mean? God's personal system. I don't need to know, Rabbi Yaakov, what the Malach told Lot, but the Malach is speaking to us. Himolet al nafshecha. If you want to save your soul, al tabit achrecha. Don't keep looking behind you. Everyone makes mistakes. Everyone sins. Koheles perik zayin. Adam ein tzadik ba'aretz asher yasa tov v'lo yechta. Everybody sins. Mishlei. Shev al yipal tzadik. The tzadik will fall 7 times. V'kam. Everybody makes mistakes. But what is your reaction? Will you remain depressed like On and your life is over? Or will you move on? If you want to save your life, don't keep... Of course you have to have guilt for past mistakes. But there comes a time when you have to what? Al tabit achrecha. Stop looking behind you. Move on. On couldn't do it. He disappears. His life is over. But the Bnei Korach, they move on. They took the Malach's advice. They moved on. They progressed. See, Satan's trap is, I'm such a lowlife anyway. Doesn't matter what I do, I might as well stay in the pool room. That's Satan's trap. Doesn't matter what I do, I'm no good anyhow. Don't fall for it. On felt that way, he couldn't move on. But the Bnei Korach, they broke with their past. They were able to get beyond it, moving on, and therefore the Torah waits. How will they react? And they reacted positively. Like King David, who wrote his most beautiful Psalms after the sin of Bathsheba. King David could have been destroyed. He did the sin with Bathsheba and Uriah the Hittite. His most beautiful Psalms were written after the sin of Bathsheba. He became much greater. Despite the sin, or perhaps because of the sin. Oh. Bnei Korach lo meitu. We have to observe them. How will they behave? Okay, now getting back to Asaph. He was a grandson of Korach. And look what he says here in Pasuk Aleph. You have it, Malka? Mizmor Asaph. Elohim, God. Bo goy menachlotecha. The Gentiles have come to your inheritance. What's your inheritance? The Bet HaMikdash. Timu et hecho kodshecha. They have defiled your holy sanctuary. Samos Yerushalayim le'iyim. They've turned Jerusalem into a heap of rubble. Mizmar Asaph. So why is Asaph singing? He should be lamenting. So look at Rashi, please. Rashi on the left side. Le'iyim legalim. The Gentiles have turned the city of Jerusalem into a heap of rubble. He's speaking about the Chorban Beit HaMikdash. Umau mizmor. So you have the underline in yellow, Mikimia. Why is Asaph singing? Haloi kinahi. He should be what? Lamenting. Why is he singing about the destruction? Lefi shenema, because it says in Eicha, Kilo Hashem et chamoto, God vented his anger. Ubamakila, I'm reading Rashi. How did God vent his fury? Vayatzeit eish betzion. A fire burst forth on Zion. What's Zion? The Bet HaMikdash. Mizmor v'shir. Yes, Asaph is singing that God made himself homeless. Why is he singing? Sheshafa chamoto al eitzim al avonim. God poured forth his fury and wrath on the building made out of wood and stones. V'loyosa kloya bebanov. And he didn't destroy his children. The Jewish people did the terrible 3 cardinal sins. They deserved to be destroyed. So mercifully, God channeled his anger, making himself homeless in order to what? Spare the Jewish people. Therefore, Asaph is singing instead of what? Lamenting. Okay? Look at Pasuk Bet. Nasnus nivlas avadecho macha la'of hashemayim. You have given the dead carcasses of your servants for food for the birds of heaven. There were so many dead Jews that the carcasses left unburied and the birds were eating them. Besar chasidecha, the flesh of your chasidim, lechaito eretz, were given as food for the beasts of the land. Besar chasidecha. Look at Rashi Bet. See Rashi Bet? The flesh of your chasidim. V'loi rishayim hoya. What kind of chasidim? They were not wearing a shtreimel. These were wicked Jews. They committed the 3 cardinal sins. Avodah zarah, gili arayot, and shvichas damim. Yuma, page 9. Why was the temple destroyed? The Jews were doing idolatry, adultery, murder. So how can the psalmist call them chasidim? They know are not wearing a bekisha and a shtreimel. Right, Rose? Why they chasidim? Rashi says, Bet malor rishayim hoya. Elo mishikablu panaseyem areim chasidim. Once a rasha has received this punishment, he's no longer a rasha. Now he's called what? A chasid, even without a shtreimel. V'chein oimer, and Rashi brings a pasuk, v'nikla achicha liyanecha, kivin shalaka achichahu. Once a person has received his punishment, even without tshuva, he is no longer a rasha. Now he's called what? A chasid yet. An amazing Rashi, Yehuda. Rashi says clearly that once a rasha has received this punishment, even without tshuva, he is completely rehabilitated and he's no longer called a rasha, he's called a chasid. But Sharona, we have a problem. If you look in the Rambam Hilchas Tshuva, the Rambam says the opposite. The Rambam Hilchas Tshuva says that even though a Jew has received this punishment, without tshuva, ich fornished. Doesn't help. Rambam Hilchas Tshuva says, a person received punishment, but he didn't do tshuva, he's still a rasha. It doesn't help. So surely we have here a contradiction. between Rashi and Rambam. And we know when two superstars roles disagree, Elu v'elu divrei Elohim chayim. These and those are both the words of the living God. How could Rambam be right? And how can Rashi be right? You know, these husband and wife were quarreling. And they came to a big Rebbe. And the Rebbe said, wife, you go first. So she went first and she said, my husband's no good, he's no good, he's no good, he's no good, he's no good. So the Rebbe said, you're right. Then he said, the husband, it's your turn. And he said just the opposite. She's no good, she's no good, she's no good. And he says, what? You're right. So the Rebbitzin is listening. She says, Rebbe, how could they both be right? So he says to her, you know, you're also right. Rabbi Avram, you know the stories. Everybody's right. So how could Rambam be right? How could Rashi be right? So, thank God we have the Meshech Chochmah. He comes to the rescue. Rabbi Reuben will like this. The Meshech Chochmah macht shulam between Holy Rambam and Rashi. When Rashi says that a person, once he gets his onesh, even when Rashi doesn't mention anything about tshuva, you're called a chassid. Rashi's talking about Bezdin Shel Malo. In God's court. In God's court, in the heavenly court, person suffers lo yaleinu, that's his kapara. When Rambam says tshuva, suffering without tshuva doesn't help, he's speaking Bezdin Shel Mata. The human court. In a human court, they give you lashes or even execution. If you don't do tshuva, you're not forgiven in the human court. We know God is much more loving and compassionate than any human being. God is much more merciful, much more loving. So when the Rambam says that punishment without tshuva doesn't work, he's speaking in the eyes of the human court. That's Rambam, don't mix me up. When Rashi says when a person gets punishment, he gets kapara even without tshuva, Rashi is speaking Bezdin Shel Mala. Different strokes for different folks. Does punishment give you kapara without tshuva? What's the answer, Tirza? It depends. Bezdin Shel Mata, no way, Jose, without tshuva. Bezdin Shel Mala, suffering is kapara. Beautiful. Glad I came today. The holy Meshech Chochmah makes peace between Rambam and beautiful. Now let's move on. A lot of material to cover here. Yes, Rabbi Aaron.
Doesn't the Rambam say that even though you do tshuva, you still you have to go through Yisurim?
But he's saying that Yisurim without tshuva doesn't help.
I understand, but he's saying that when you do tshuva,
Yeah.
you still have to go through Yisurim.
That's says you made tshuva shir. You don't want me to give out the goods now. Before you know it. This Friday is going to be Rosh Chodesh Av. Why is it called Av? Av is Rosh Tevot, FBI, CIA. Elul Ba. Before you know it, Elul's coming. So Rabbi Aaron Bli Neda will address that question in a shir during Elul. That's called a cliffhanger. This way you have to come back in Elul. Av Rosh Tevot Elul Ba. Ready or not, here I come. Pretty frightening. Okay, where were we, Rebuve? Yes?
The Rambam, which was the one that said,
Rambam says, tshuva, you need tshuva too? That's Bezdin Shel Mata. And Rashi, where a punishment cleanses you, that's in the eyes of God. Okay.
What's the Peshara?
That's the Pshara. They're speaking about Bezdin Shel Mala, Bezdin Shel Mata, right?
That's the Meshech Chochmah.
Meshech Chochmah macht sholem between Rashi and Rambam. So let's move on over here. That's called the Or Sameach. You know, Meshech Chochmah on Chumash, but on Rambam he's called Or Sameach. Okay? So it's alias to Or Sameach.
the Rambam is for Mata, right?
Rambam's Bezin Shalmata. That's right, where you need what? Tshuva also. Bezin Shalmata. Bezin Shalmala, suffering is enough.
Do you mind just giving me the source for the Meshach?
In the Rambam, the Or Sameach, Rambam Hilchas Tshuva. The Or Sameach, alias the Meshach Chachma, Clark Kent Superman. The Rambam, the Or Sameach, alias Meshach Chachma, in Rambam Hilchas Tshuva. Okay, let's move on over here. Let's move on. Let's analyze Pasuk Aleph, Sharona, very carefully. Mizmar Asaf, Elohim, Bo Goyim Nachlatecha. The Gentiles have come to your inheritance. So Asaf calls the Beis Hamikdash, Yehuda, Nachlatecha. What does Nachlatecha mean? Your inheritance. Wait a minute. In Eicha, Perek Hey, Jeremiah calls the Bet HaMikdash Nachlotenu. Now Rambam and Rashi can disagree, but Asaf and Yirmiyahu cannot disagree. Nevi'im can't argue. No way, Jose. Asaf refers to the Bet HaMikdash as Nachlotecha. God, it's your inheritance. It's yours. And Eicha, Perek Hey, calls the Beis Hamikdash Nachlotenu. Our inheritance. Make up your mind. Says the Rav Soloveitchik Zatzal. Different strokes for different folks. When Asaf speaks about Nachlotecha, he's speaking about what? Bayit Sheni. We'll see soon. When Yirmiyahu speaks about Nachlotenu, Yirmiyahu lived in Bayit Rishon. He's speaking about what? Bayit Rishon. He was an eyewitness to the Chorban Bayit Rishon. And therefore, Soloveitchik says, the Rambam says, that Kiddushat Shloma Batla. Shlomo HaMelech sanctified the Beis HaMikdash. When the Babylonians destroyed it, the Temple Mount lost its Kedusha. Avol Kedushat Ezra Loy Batla, says Rambam. When Ezra rebuilt the second temple, that Kedusha Loy Batla La'olam. And we see why. Says Rav Soloveitchik, therefore Yirmiyahu, who was speaking about Bayit Rishon, built by whom? Shlomo, calls the temple Nachlotenu. Our inheritance, it's destroyed, kaput, gone. But Asaf is speaking about Bayit Sheni. And Bayit Sheni, built by Ezra, Kiddusha, Ezra says, Rambam loy batla ma'olam. Therefore, God, it's your problem. Nachlotecha. You can't be homeless forever. It's your problem, God. So now, why was Kedusha Shlomo bottle? Kedusha Ezra wasn't, says Rav Soloveitchik. Kedusha Shlomo, how did Shlomo HaMelech acquire Jerusalem? His father, King David, went to war. War. So King David conquered Jerusalem by war and gave it to his son. Comes along another war by Nebuchadnezzar, and one war, remember spy versus spy, war versus war, cancel it. And therefore Rambam says, Kedusha Shlomo Batla, because the city was sanctified through King David through war. That's how Shlomo got it. Came along the Nebuchadnezzar with another war, and what? Canceled it. So therefore Yirmiyahu refers to Bayis Rishon as Nachlotenu. It's our inheritance, kaput, finished, no more Kedusha. But Ezra, how did Ezra sanctify Jerusalem? Settlements. Ooh, I said the word. Settlements. Look in the, not PC. If you look in the book of Ezra, unlike King David, he didn't conquer Jerusalem through war. Ezra did it through settlements. Settlements is la'olam va'ed, is forever. And therefore Rambam rules that Kiddushas Ezra loy batla ma'olam. It wasn't conquered through war, where war can what? Nullify it. It was conquered through settlements, So therefore, Ezra's Kedusha, the Temple Mount is just as holy today. That's from Bayit Sheni through Ezra, through settlements. I'll say it again. Settlements. John Balcari doesn't like that. John Balcari doesn't like it. Settlements. And therefore, Asaph is speaking Nachlatecha. God, it's your problem. You can't remain homeless forever. How do I know it's speaking about the second temple? Fasten your seatbelts for this. Mizmar L'Asaph. Elohim, boy goy manachlosecha, timu et heichal kodshecha. They have defiled your holy sanctuary. How have they defiled the holy sanctuary? Look at Mitzudas David. The bottom it says Timu, Chava. Get a fasten your seatbelts, otherwise you'll fall off your chair. Timu et heichal kodshecha. They have defiled your holy sanctuary, God. How did they defile it? Look at Mitzudas David on the bottom. Timu, it's highlighted. Ki titus noaf bo'im zonah. In the second temple, Asaph is speaking by Yesheni. How did they defile it? Titus took a prostitute into Holy of Holies and had sex with her. Can you imagine that? How low can you go? And why did God allow that atrocity? Timot Hechel Kochecho. Mitzudas David is quoting the Tractate Gittin, page 57. See the bottom of the Tirza? Timu, Mitzudas David. Ki titus naf bo'im zonah. He took a zonah to the Holy of Holies and he had sexual relations with her. Why did God allow such an atrocity? Why? That's the question we have to deal with this afternoon. Such blasphemy? Ad kedei kach? Why? Why? Well, to answer this question, we have to what? Ask another one. Why did Moses destroy God's holy tablets? The work of God's own hands. Why did he destroy it? Why? Says the Meshech Chochmah, the Jews' mindset at that time was so corrupt that when Moses would come down with the holy tablets, instead of worshiping the golden calf, they would worship the tablets.
That's what Moshe was afraid of, they say?
That's what they would worship the tablets. They were so corrupt in their mindset, they would worship the tablets. So he had no choice but to what? To break them. In the last week's parsha, Moshe makes a copper serpent, puts it on a pole, and in Mishnah Psachim chapter 4 tells us Cheskio HaMelech destroyed that copper serpent on a pole. And the rabbi said, bravo. They began to worship it.
Worship what? The serpent?
The copper serpent, like they would worship what? The Jews in the time of Yirmiyahu, in the time of Titus, they were actually worshiping the building. I'll prove it to you. So God had no choice. They were worshiping the building. The Beit HaMikdash. I'll prove it to you. Judaism is God-centered religion, not temple-centered, not luchot-centered. I'll show you soon, you don't have it, but Jeremiah chapter 7, I'll read it to you. The temple became the reason for their sin. The temple became an insurance policy. They said God is hostage to his temple. Now keep in mind, 140 years before the Churban Bayit Rishon, there were 185,000 Assyrians camped outside the city. This is 140 years before the Churban. In one night, they're all dead. 185,000 dropped dead in one night. They said, it's a good luck charm. It's like a Reuter Bendel. We're too big to fail. God is not going to make himself homeless. Let's boogie. We got the temple. God is too heavily invested. He's not going to put himself out of business, Yehuda, to go bankrupt. They had God in a hostage theology. I'll prove it to you. There was no choice but to destroy his house and even allow such blasphemy of Titus. My dear children, if you're not doing the right thing, the building is an empty shell. It doesn't mean nothing to me. To shock them, not only do you have to destroy the temple, he had to allow this atrocity of Titus and the harlot. They were so corrupt, their mindset, that they began to worship the building. It became an insurance policy to sin. So as long as the temple existed, they kept on sinning. It was a license to boogie. I'll read you Jeremiah. You get home, you look it up. I didn't copy it. Jeremiah chapter 7. Jeremiah chapter 7. This is the prophet, not the bullfrog. Jeremiah was a prophet. Jeremiah chapter 7. He says as follows. Koyomer Hashem, thus says God, Al tiftechu lechem al divrei sheker. Do not rely on lying words.
What verse?
Jeremiah 7, pasuk 4. Al tiftechu lechem al divrei hasheker. Don't rely on lying words. Lemor, Heichal Hashem, Heichal Hashem, Heichal Hashem Hema. They kept saying, Rose, we got it in like Flynn. Remember that, in like Flynn? We can do whatever we want. Heichal Hashem, Heichal Hashem. Rabbi Yaakov, we have the temple of God. He's not going to put himself out of business. I can do anything I want. Jeremiah chapter 7, pasuk 4. Heichal Hashem, we got God as a hostage. He's not going to make himself homeless. Bring it on. You hear what they said, Reuven? Shh. So to shock them, God had no choice but to what? Destroy his temple and allow such a gross blasphemy. And it did shock them. And he goes on. Change your ways, chapter 7, pasuk 5. Improve your ways and your deeds. Be kind to each other. And pasuk 6, do not oppress the ger tzedek, the righteous convert. Don't oppress him. Don't upset him. Don't cause him needless anguish. This could have been written today. Rabbis, what are you causing anguish to a ger tzedek for? What are you, off the wall? Jeremiah chapter 7, pasuk 6. You're causing anguish to the ger tzedek, to the yotam and the almanah. And you think the Heichal Hashem will protect you? What's wrong with you? Pasuk 5, all in chapter 7. Pasuk 8. Hine atem botchim lachem al divrei sheker. You rely on false words. It won't help you thinking that the temple will what? Save you. You think you have God hostage. The temple became a good luck charm. So God had no choice. It's incredible. Chapter 7, pasuk 9. Will you steal, murder, swear falsely, commit adultery? And you think I'll allow that? And pasuk 10, chapter 7, pasuk 10. You do all the worst sins, then you come and stand before me, babayit hazeh, in this house, asher nikra shmi olav, which my name is what called, and you say, v'amartem nitzalnu, oh, we're saved. L'man asot es kol ha'ta'ova ta'eleh. You're going to do all of these abominations, gay parades, homosexuality, and all the perversions, and you'll say that what? Babayit hazeh, we have God's house. Nitzalnu, we have an insurance policy. You hear what they said, Sonia? And this bizarre, Ruvain, the very fact that they had the temple, Rivka, perpetuated kol ha'to'evot ha'ele, mazo to'eva.
Abomination.
All these abominations. Jeremiah chapter 7, pasuk 10, could be written what? Today. I go to shul, I give tzedakah, I can be a lowlife.
What about Parshas Pinchas and what Pinchas did to Zimri and Cosby? The Mishkan was standing. They thought they can get away with anything.
That's what they thought. That's right.
Rabbi?
Leman kol ha'to'eva ha'ele, it's incredible. Chapter 7, pasuk 10, Jeremiah. You come and stand before me in this house, God says, which my name is, and you say, we are saved. And this justifies you all your abominations? You hear the mindset, Rose? That God had no choice but to destroy his house, not once, but twice. Yes, Ruvain.
Yeah, I think Jeremiah also says somewhere, I don't know where it is.
Yeah.
No, and I think it's Jeremiah, but I'll paraphrase it because I only know a paraphrase.
Go ahead.
It is, God doesn't want your burnt offerings, he wants your heart.
Right?
God doesn't want your burnt offerings.
Right.
Bringing these offerings, you don't care, he wants your heart.
That's Yeshayahu.
Oh, that's just, yeah, okay.
We're going to read that, you know when? The Shabbos before Tisha B'Av. God says, I need your burnt offerings, you're a bunch of lowlifes. Keep your Rosh Chodesh, your Moyadim. That's Chazon Yeshayahu. Yeshayahu lived a little before Yirmiyahu.
So, Rabbi, I'm not clear why it's saying our house.
What?
Instead of your house, or the first base of Mikdash. Why is it
Because
saying
the first base of Mikdash, Nachlotenu, our house, because, says Rav Soloveitchik, because the Rambam says, Kiddusha Shlomo Batla. Shlomo HaMelech got the city from his father through war.
Conquest, kibush.
Kibush, Milchama. Nebuchadnezzar came with another war, and that wiped out the war that King David fought to conquer Jerusalem. So therefore, Rambam rules that Kiddusha Shlomo Batla.
Rambam says that the base of
Kiddusha Shlomo Batla, he said. Hilchot Beit HaBechira. So therefore, the first temple's Nachlaseinu. It's no longer God's Nachla. God's Nachla was destroyed when the Nebuchadnezzar destroyed the temple. So it's Nachlateinu. But Mizmar Asaf is speaking about Kedushas Ezra, the second temple. Kedushas Ezra says Rambam loy batla. Therefore Yirmiyahu is speaking about Bayit Rishon, says Nachlateinu. Because that became no longer God's Nachla. One war knocks off another war. But Asaf is speaking about Bayit Sheni. He says Timu, speaking about Titus, the Roman, in the Beit HaMikdash. That's the Bayit Sheni, and the Bayit Sheni is Nachlatecha, God. It's your Nachla, because that wasn't through war. That was Yehuda through settlements. And Kedushas Ezra, because of settlements, says Rambam, Loi Batla Ma'olam. Look at the awesome power of settling the land. That's forever. Therefore, the Balkari and the Abu Mamzer are so upset. Because wherever a Jew settles, that's it. Halavai, we would know that. Like Abu Mamzer knows it. They go ballistic. Every time a Jew builds a porch in Efrat, Abu Mamzer goes ballistic.
So does Karen.
Because the Balkari too. They know. Halavai, we would believe like they believe. Shoshana. Halavai. They know. Anyway, where was I? So back in Jeremiah 7, Pasuk 14. V'asiti labayit, I'll do to this house which my name is called, which you rely as an insurance policy, Jeremiah 7:14, I'll do to it like I did to Shiloh. Remember Mishkan Shiloh?
Yes.
They also thought it's what? A good luck charm, a roite bendel. So God had no choice but to destroy it. So I'm going to do the same thing with my house. They didn't listen. They were so fachadet. How do you say fachadet?
Mixed up.
A mindset.
Confused.
So God had no choice but to shock them in order to what? And after the Khurban, we did what? Come back. But that's what it took. So God had to make himself homeless, otherwise the Jewish people would be what? Wiped out. Now if you go on in Jeremiah 7,
Did Moses do the same thing in destroying the temple?
that's exactly what I said. Thank you. That's why Moses destroyed the tablets, because otherwise they begin to worship the tablets. Oh, good luck charm, the holy tablets, right? If you're warm, you can ask the lady to make it a little cooler. Okay, I'll speak loud, you'll hear me. I'm also warm. I don't want to fall asleep, Malka. You mind asking the lady to make it a little cooler? I'm very warm. I don't want to fall asleep. Thank you. Now, I'll continue with Jeremiah 7. How corrupt they were. Pasuk 31. Ubanu bomot hatofet asher begai bigay henom. Lisrof et boneyem ves boneseyem boesh. Asher loy tziviti v'loyot alibi. They have built high places in Tophet, which is in the valley of Gehenna. You know what that is, Malka? Right next to the Cinematheque. Right next to the Cinematheque, there's a valley called Gehenna.
I think it's a UN.
Archaeologists are unearthing altars with skeletons of kids with their throat cut. That's what the Jews were doing. Can you imagine how corrupt Jews were doing it? Jeremiah 7, Pasuk 31. They have built the high places of Tophet, which is in the valley of Gehenna. The Cinematheque today is still called Gehenna. Their sons and their daughters they burn with fire. God said, where are they coming from? I never commanded them to do that. And therefore, the Talmud, the byword for hell is Gehenna. Because there can be no more horror in the world. Gehenna is a Talmudic phrase for hell, taken from Jeremiah 7:31, where they burned their kids.
Did you say Gehenna or Gay?
Gehinnom, the valley of the son of Hinnom. It's gay. Gay means a valley. A gay in Hebrew doesn't mean a homo. A gay in Hebrew means a valley. Gay ben Hinnom. In the valley of the son of Hinnom, he rented out his valley for trance parties and for child sacrifices. So the Talmud could find nothing more horrible, and they coined that phrase for hell, Gehenna. The valley of Mr. Hinnom.
Get Gehenna from?
Gehenna. They burned their own children to fire. And they figured the Beis HaMikdash will what? Protect them. In like Flynn. Now in Tanakh, Shirley, hell is called Sheol. In Tanakh, you look in Tehillim, even in Pashas Korach, he says Korach will go to hell, Sheol, alive, Sheolah. In Tanakh, Gehenna, the Talmud calls it Gehenna because it can be nothing more horrible than killing a kid to Avodah Zarah. Our peace partners, right? They kill themselves for their Avodah Zarah. There's nothing more atrocious. So Chazal coined that phrase, Gehenna. But in Tanakh, hell is called Sheol. Shin, Aleph, Vav, Lamed. What's the root? She'elah.
Question, yes.
Because the worst hell is...
Not
It's-
answers.
That's the worst hell. Hell is not a physical place. Hell is a frame of when a person dies, his body dies. The mind, the consciousness lives on. The worst hell is when God will ask him, why did you screw up? That's the worst hell. She'elah. How could you waste your life on nonsense? That's the worst hell. Nowhere to run. Nowhere to hide. That's She'elah, Sheol. So anyway, they were doing that. So then God said, again, chapter 7:32, therefore days are coming, God says. Days are coming when I'm going to have to destroy my own house. Now, why is it called Tophet? Next to the Cinematheque, it's still called the Valley of Gehenna. Amazing. I'm telling you, archaeologists are unearthing altars with skeletons of children with their throats cut. So you see what Jeremiah said is found in the archaeologists.
Is there only one? Is there only one?
Only one what?
Cinematheque?
Cinematheque in the Valley of Gehenna.
You know, over there. By the old city, you come in the old city.
Now, why is it called Tophet? Why is it called Tophet? So the Talmud says, Hey, Toph, Pei, Tov. The root is Tov. Oh, thank you. I don't need it. Thank you, Rivka. Thank you very much. From the root Tov. What does Tov mean in Hebrew?
It's a drum.
Drum. So the Talmud explains the children were screaming and crying. So to drown out their cries, the parents shouldn't change their minds. The priest banged on the Tov. That's how cruel they were. The priest banged on the Tov to drum out the cries of the kids. So the parents shouldn't have what, Yehuda? Second thoughts. That's how corrupt they were.
I can't hear it anymore, don't tell us.
Tell it like it is. There's no cover-ups. We have to know we're much better than they were. We have to know that, Ruvain. We're much better than they were.
Shirley's been waiting to ask.
I'm sorry, Shirley. Fire away. I'm all ears.
I'm not asking a question, I'm making a comment. Today, we are ruining ourselves with our mouths, not physically like as they did then.
Go ahead.
Killing the kids. Are we getting together, one group against another group, verbally? You know what's going on with the papers.
Right. Better not to read the papers. Right.
Okay, but
You want to get depressed? Read the paper.
We're repeating the same thing in a different way.
But not as bad as they were. We're not burning our kids to Avodah Zarah.
No.
Do it in a different
We're not doing that.
But we're doing
We're not that bad. We're not. We have to know that.
I'll tell you how they do it, we do it.
What?
By letting out terrorists again and again and again, they kill our children.
Okay.
Amen.
Okay. I hear.
The women should run this country.
I agree. Right? Now, this minds Shoshana, what?
These priests you're talking about, were they the Kohanim?
No, they were the Kahani Baal from the Molech. The Molech Kohanim. The Molech. Baal, Molech. Right? Avodah Zarah. The Baal, the Molech. So Mekim is saying that by letting out these terrorists, murderers to kill our children, we're almost as bad as they were?
Well, no.
No.
Because it's not really
Close, but
intentional.
not-
It's a form of cowardice. That's
Okay.
what it is.
Now this mindset, Sharona, wasn't born overnight. Please bear with me. You look in the book of Samuel. Samuel 1. Samuel 1. Shmuel Aleph in the beginning. Hannah couldn't have a child. So she was praying to Hashem. Eli watched her mouth. Hannah, she was speaking in her heart. Only her lips were moving, and her voice was not heard. Shmuel Aleph, Samuel 1, right in the beginning. Eli thought that she's a drunken woman. Eli said to her, "Until when will you be drunk?" Huh? And Hannah said to him, "I'm not drunk. I'm a woman of a sorrowful spirit and not drunk." This is the high priest, Rabbi Avraham, the Kohen Gadol, the Shofet. He was so blind in more ways than one. Blind to her pain. I think Eli was a mesnagit. He sees a chosid davening a langish Esra and thinks that she's shikr. Sharon, isn't that incredible?
I think that
Chana was a chasida. She was davening long and swaying, and the words were not coming out. So Eli was so blind in more ways than one that he thought that she's shikr. But it's more than that. Eli was too busy doing Nisach Hayayin on the temple. But there's a pasuk in Eicha, Shifchi kamayim libech nochach pnei Hashem. Shifchi kamayim libech nochach pnei Hashem. What does Jeremiah say? You think I need your wine on the Mizbeach, Eli? Pour out your heart like water to me. You're so blind, high priest. All you can see is the Nisach Hayayin on the altar. A woman is pouring out her heart to Hashem like water. You can't see that? For you, the temple has become what? Idol worship. He's thinking about Nisa Chayayin, pouring the wine on the altar. What about this poor woman pouring out her heart to Hashem? He was blind to that. That was their mindset. Reuven, God said, I can't take this. Therefore, the Mishkan Shiloh was destroyed. This is hundreds of years before. That's why God had no choice but to destroy the Mishkan Shiloh. Because Eli's attitude, that's the high priest. Too busy pouring wine on the altar and not recognizing the pain of a woman who's pouring out her heart to Hashem. As Jeremiah says, Shifchi kamayim libech. Pour out your heart like water to Hashem. That's what Hashem wants.
Rabbi.
So you see that mindset corrupted even Eli in the Mishkan Shiloh. So God, Jeremiah 7, I'll do to the temple what I did to Mishkan Shiloh because you guys are off the wall.
Right.
Yes, Reuven.
Yeah, Rabbi. We learned from Hannah, if I remember correctly.
Go ahead.
How to daven.
Right.
One essay, correct?
Right, that your lips should move, but your sound shouldn't be heard. So Eli was too blind to that. He was too blind. He was too busy pouring wine on the Mizbeach. It became an empty ritual. Who needs that? If you don't recognize the pain of a woman with a broken heart, you can't recognize that. You're not sensitive for that. I need your wine on the altar, Eli. I'm going to destroy Mishkan Shiloh.
And he was blind to what his son Pinchas.
He was blind in more ways than one. There's many levels of blindness.
But Rabbi,
Yes. What?
I don't hear what?
What you?
At that time, were they used to women davening in the shul and
It wasn't. If she was davening in the chutzner, the Mishkan,
they
but she up until that
were they accustomed?
up until that time, they davened loud. Hannah was a prophetess,
I know, but
and she
women
said,
daven
God told her from now on, I want you to daven silently.
Women daven in the chutzner up until
There was a Ezras Noshim. She was not in the men's section. She's not woman off the wall.
So because she
No,
wasn't
she's
davening
not
aloud,
woman.
she was drunk, she-
Because until that time,
Yeah.
everybody davened loud. And she was mumbling, and she davened very long, says Rashi. So Eli must have been a Masnagid. And she was a Chasidisha.
You shouldn't talk that way.
Why?
Why should you say that?
Therefore, Eli got fired.
Don't say
Eli got fired. Anyway, let's move on. Now, let's move on. You see, this mindset corrupted them because when the Mishkan Shiloh was destroyed, again in Samuel 1, the Mishkan Shiloh was destroyed, right? And Samuel 1 tells us that 30,000 Jews were killed in the war against the Palestinians, trying to defend nothing has changed. 30,000 Jews were killed. And the ark of God was taken. And the two sons of Eli, Chophni and Pinchas, were also killed. Okay? Now listen to this. How you have to analyze Tanakh, Samuel 1. A man of Benjamin came from the battlefield. He came to Shiloh in that day. His garments were torn. And he came, and Eli was sitting on the chair beside the road, waiting. His heart trembled for the ark of God. You hear? He wasn't concerned about his sons or the IDF. What was he concerned about? The ark of God. Incredible how the pasuk. Who wrote the book of Samuel? Samuel. He says he was concerned. Rak al wat charad al aron. He was trembling. What's the fate of the ark? What about the fate of your sons? What about the fate of the chayalim? Didn't concern him. He was so fixated on what? On the temple and its artifacts, that's what he was what? Trembling about. You hear? Now, Samuel 1, Eli goes on. He was 98 years old. And he was blind in more ways than one, Shoshana. And the survivor from the war said to him, I come from the battle. I come from the battle. I'm come. So he said, what happened, my son? What happened? And he said to him, Israel fled before the PLO. I'm not making this up. Israel fled before the Palestinians. And there was a great slaughter among the people. And your own 2 sons were killed, Chofni and Pinchas. And the Ark of God was captured by the Palestinians. Now, what would you think?
He'd be upset about his sons.
It was, look it up, Samuel 1:18. It was when he mentioned the Ark of God, Eli fell off the chair, Brackwood, and broke his neck. What about his own sons? What about all the casualties? The Ark of God? That concerns you? What about human life? What about your own sons? They became so fixated. Is that the right word here? Thank you very much. Fixated on artifacts of the temple, they became desensitized to the heart of a broken woman crying, or even to his own sons. So God had no choice but to destroy the Mishkan Shiloh and to allow his ark to be captured. Because there's nothing as sacred as what?
Human life.
As human life. Nothing sacred as human life. And they had to learn that lesson, unfortunately, the hard way. The hard way. Unfortunately. So what's the message for us, Sonia? Not to repeat their mistakes. I mean, why is this written down? Rose, we know Tanakh is not a history book. Tanakh is not ancient history. Tanakh is God's GPS buddy for today. What is GPS? God's personal system. God's personal system. For the long and winding road of life, we're supposed to learn from their mistakes. To be more sensitive to a fellow human being. To smile more. It doesn't cost any money to smile. Some people are like constipated. They can't smile.
Can't say hello.
Can't say hello. You're so fixated on the temple, on artifacts. Fixated, thank you. You have no time to turn to a fellow Yidel with a shmeichel and a good morning? You think God needs your davening if you can't be kind and compassionate and smile on a fellow Jew? We forgot the Iker and we fixated on the Tuffle. Let's not keep repeating, Shirley, their mistakes.
And don't say that you're not a Jew if you're reformed.
Of Chas v'Shalom.
But they say it.
He retracted it.
I hope he retracted it.
No, he didn't.
You think, Shirley, God puts labels on Jews?
No.
No way, Jose.
Terrible.
Reform, conservative, Orthodox,
All Jews.
that's all nonsense. In God's eyes,
All Jews.
it's just Jews.
Hitler killed everyone.
Hitler didn't make no difference.
How did we get this shas in our blood?
How dare he say something like that?
It was horrible.
The Talmud says, Yisrael afapi shechatu Yisrael. Any Jew, no matter how sinful, remains a Jew. How dare he say that?
And who says
Bibi should have fired him.
absolutely right?
Should have fired the Shas minister.
Should have fired shas.
Should have fired him. What?
He retracted it.
He retracted it?
No, he said that they're,
I didn't mean it.
no.
I was misquoted.
Finished. No, he said.
Right.
He said they're sinners.
What? Who is he to say you're sinners? Who is he? The Mishnah says in Masechta Avot, Al tadin et chavero at shemgiel l'mekomo. Hillel says. Hillel was very Haredi. Hillel Azoken Reb Meir. Don't you dare judge your fellow Yid
Terrible. It's killing me.
ad
Of course,
shatkia l'mekomo until you walk in his shoes. Mikimia, please. Hillel was very Haredi. Don't you dare judge any other Jew unless you first walk in his shoes. Can we walk in anybody's shoes? Hillel, he was more Haredi than Shas. I think he was. But people say, don't confuse me with the facts. My mind's already made up. So let's be kinder, more considerate, and let's greet each other. It doesn't cost any money to smile and say shalom. Shalom. Thank you very much.